Welcome to this explainer. Let's get right into how a super common everyday annoyance is actually hiding a life-changing science-backed health hack. Yep, we're talking about parking and how just tweaking your daily routine can unlock some seriously incredible benefits for your mind and body.
So, picture this. You pull into the grocery store, and what do? You spend 5 minutes doing the slow creep, right? Stalking shoppers to their cars, sitting there with the blinker on, all just to snag a spot 20 feet closer to the door. We've all been there. But why do we actually do this? Well, it really boils down to two relatable mindsets that are basically hardwired into our human biology. On one hand, you've got the person circling relentlessly. They're just surrendering to this deep evolutionary drive to conserve energy. But then you've got the person who pulls in and intentionally takes the very first empty spot way in the back. And honestly, that one simple choice represents a massive shift in how we view our daily movement.
That back-of-the-lot parker is perfectly illustrating something called incidental physical activity, or IPA. It's a brilliant concept. IPA is all about using the built environment around you to just sneak movement into your busy day. It totally bypasses the classic, "I don't have enough time for the gym" excuse, because you're literally just building a workout right into a journey you already had to make.
All right, let's move on to Section 1, the science of exercise snacks.
Let's talk about why these micro-interventions, or what researchers playfully call exercise snacks, matter so much. Get this. Physical inactivity is staggeringly expensive. It costs the U.S. healthcare system approximately $117 billion a year. Let that sink in. On a personal level, if you're not moving much, you're looking at hundreds, maybe even thousands of extra dollars in medical bills annually. So earning those extra steps in the parking lot, it's quite literally a personal wealth-building strategy.
Now, the metabolic math here is fascinating. You might think that getting on a treadmill and walking continuously is the absolute most efficient way to burn energy. Actually, no. The constant start and stop of walking through a parking lot, pausing for a car, dodging a stray shopping cart, stepping up a curb, that actually burns way more energy than a continuous stroll. Your body has to burn a significant amount of extra fuel just to transition from standing still to a steady walk.
And these short little bouts of weight-bearing activity, they deliver huge, systemic benefits across your whole body. For your cardiovascular system, just that brief walk lowers vascular resistance. The physical impact of your feet hitting the asphalt actually stimulates bone density, which is absolutely crucial for reducing fracture risks as we age. And mentally, just getting out of the car and moving gives you a nice hit of endorphins and dopamine. It acts as a natural buffer against anxiety and depression.
Okay, let's jump into Section 2, hacking our habits. So if all this extra movement is undeniably good for us, how do we actually override that deep-seated evolutionary laziness? Researchers call it the theory of effort minimization, but I love how one active community member on a Reddit walking forum put it. They said, we need to intentionally shift our mindset to start looking for the long cuts instead of the shortcuts. I just absolutely love that phrasing. Try asking yourself every day, how can I make this exact journey more step-fulfilled?
To actually make this psychological change stick, we can use B.J. Fogg's behavior model. Fogg says that for a new action to trigger, 3 things have to converge at the exact same moment. First, you need motivation, like wanting to improve your heart health. Second, ability. The walk actually has to be physically doable. And third, a prompt. You need a trigger, like an intentional sticky note on your dashboard that you see the second you pull into work.
And that builds right into a real game changer called habit stacking. This leverages the basal ganglia in your brain to lock your new parking rule onto a routine you already do every day. The formula is super simple. When I arrive at work, I will park in the last 3 rows. Boom! You just anchor that new behavior to an established habit, and eventually the choice becomes completely automatic. You don't even have to think about it.
Which brings us to Section 3, the built environment.
Because let's be real, how far should we actually be expected to walk out there in the real world? Urban planners recognize that our willingness to walk is heavily dictated by environmental friction. Just look at this pedestrian in the rain. That perfectly captures it. Friction is stuff like bad weather, having to cross a busy street with no crosswalk, or poor lighting. These elements totally tank how far people are willing to travel on foot, and city planners actually have to design around that human reality.
To manage all this, planners grade parking distances using a level of service, or LOS system. LOSA is that golden, super convenient spot right up front, maybe 300 feet away. But check out LOSD. That is the maximum acceptable distance, and for a retail shopper, it's actually up to 1,600 feet.
If you voluntarily choose that acceptable LOSD spot way in the back, you are effectively quadrupling your physical activity compared to fighting for the LOSA spot.
Moving on to Section 4, navigating pedestrian safety. Okay, we literally cannot talk about taking the long cut without addressing the elephant in the room: increased exposure to risk. Walking further means more traffic exposure, and it is a serious reality. In 2024 alone, there were 7,080 pedestrian fatalities and traffic crashes nationwide. Parking lots are totally chaotic, right? Distracted drivers, vehicles backing out blind. Taking the long cut means we absolutely must stay highly vigilant.
To protect yourself out there, the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration has some hard rules. If there's no sidewalk, always walk facing traffic. Never just dart across the middle of a block. And this one is absolutely crucial. For parking lots, walk right down the center of the aisles to stay out of the blind spots of reversing vehicles. And always make direct eye contact with the driver before you cross their path.
But hey, it's not entirely on us. Property owners play a massive role in our personal safety too, using something called crime prevention through environmental design. This means providing really bright, uniform LED lighting and keeping bushes trimmed down below 3 feet to eliminate any potential hiding spots. Because let's face it, if an environment feels sketchy and unmaintained, nobody is going to voluntarily utilize those distant parking spaces.
So, I want you to think about your commute tomorrow morning. When you pull into that lot, you're going to have a choice. You can fight your biology, give in to the friction, and spend 5 minutes hunting for a spot just to save a few steps. Or you can embrace the science of incidental activity. Are you going to keep driving in circles? Are you finally ready to take the long cut?